We had a long talk about the Texas quarterbacks in the SEC championship game, but we need to talk about Carson Beck in his second outing against the Longhorns. The first time around, he threw 3 picks and had the lowest yards per attempt average he's had all season at 4.3. If that sounds strange to you, because Georgia won the game by so much, remember it was Georgia's defense that dominated Texas's offense in the first half. So, Ari, 2 questions. Does Carson Beck need to play a better game for them to win this time? Or maybe Georgia's defense does the job? And also, Carson Beck hasn't thrown a pick since the Ole Miss game. 3 games without one. Do we think he's gotten that situation out of his system?
I mean, it is kind of remarkable to think that Georgia's defense played so well, or Texas's offense played so poorly in the first game, that he threw for 3 picks and the game ended with you feeling like Georgia won a blowout. Like, that is such a lopsided circumstance, especially when you're playing on the road. You don't really see that very often.
It's a weird line.
It was a weird game. It was a weird game, and I don't know if I would take much from it for this one. I don't know if you're with me on that.
I think that's pretty accurate, because I think this game may play out a lot more like Georgia Tech played out. And remember, Georgia beat Georgia Tech 44-42 in 8 overtimes. Carson Beck threw for 297 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, only 6.9 yards per attempt. That's not a great number, but you'll take it in that situation, and you'd take it against a defense as good as Texas if that's what happens. Now, let's look at his prize pick squares for this game. Carson Beck, if you're not checking them out on Prize Picks now, if you don't have the app already, download it. Use the code Staples when you sign up. Play $5, get $50 instantly. So Carson Beck's passing yards square for this game, 245.5. You decide if he's going to throw for more than that or less than that. He has thrown for more than that in his past 5 games. So, and I think they're probably going to need to do that, because like you said, what happened in that first game is probably an anomaly. Like, I don't know that Texas's offense can be held to that poor of a game another time. I think they're going to be able to move all some on Georgia's defense, and that's going to require Carson Beck to keep up.
And we've talked about this on the show quite a bit, but I don't know if you know these off the top of your head, Andy, but do you know, like, Georgia's length of their scoring drives on the way to a 23-0 lead in that game?
Oh, in the Texas game?
13
there
yards.
was not one over 30 yards.
It was 13 yards, 34 yards, 25 yards, 34. And 4 yards.
Okay, 34 was the one.
So, but yeah, and Carson Beck had a bad game. So I personally think that the best thing about this Texas team is their defense. And you would agree with that, right? I think their defense is
agree with that. Definitely.
Capital N nasty. Like, it is huge. And I think that I would view it the other way. Like, I think that this game is going to be more like a lower scoring game. Like, I don't think it's going to play out like Georgia Tech at all. I think that both, unless Arch Manning comes in and rushes for 300 yards, like, I think that this is going to be like a 24-17, 20-13 type of game. So I am going to go
probably what the first game should have been without all the turnovers.
Exactly, right. So you don't have turnovers. You don't hand the ball over deep in your territory. And if that happens again, you're going to have a hard time hitting that total passing number, because the possessions are going to start closer to the goal line and you're not going to have an opportunity to get there. Which is probably part of the reason why Carson Beck only threw for 170, whatever it was, the first time they played.
Yeah.
But
and 186 against Ole Miss.
245.5 against this team, I think, is a pretty large number, and I don't know that I like to cross it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's asking a lot. Well, maybe I'm just wish casting when I say it's going to be more like the Georgia Tech game, because I had a lot of fun watching that game.
It would be great. I mean, it would be great.
Yeah. But you're right. Yeah. The more you talk and I process this, these two defenses, if they play up to their capability, none of the 3 quarterbacks that will play are going to have much fun.
And neither offense is as reliable as their defense. That's the thing.
Correct. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, so Carson Beck maybe doesn't have to go more than for Georgia to win. But we'll find out. Again, like I said, 3 quarterbacks probably playing in this game, because Arch Manning playing the 2006 Tim Tebow role for Texas, which still blows my mind. But it's going to be quite a scene in Atlanta, Georgia against Texas for the SEC title.